Education in ancient Greece, whose undeniable success is widely proven by the creativity in all fields of knowledge and art, was primarily focused on preparing young men for high-ranking positions in public life, politics, the judiciary, and even education itself. While this educational model is not something that can be copied and applied to mass education today, and it would be utopian to try to emulate it even for the formation of the ruling class, politicians, business leaders, military commanders, bishops, and cardinals, it still remains an excellent model for the education of the intellectual elite. I am not suggesting that it is feasible or even desirable to set up a school, or much less, a national education system based on the Greek format. When I use the word model, I mean it purely as a comparative unit, a measure that can serve as personal guidance, whether for a few dedicated educators, homeschooling parents, or students who are committed to educating or re-educating themselves. Some of my students already have a clear understanding of this, and have been drawing on the Greek example, both for themselves and for their children, and in cases where they are teachers, for their own students as well. Given this limitation, the first thing that should catch our attention is the absolute priority that was given, in childhood education, to literary and artistic training. After receiving basic moral instruction at home, practically the only thing children were taught as soon as they became literate was to read and memorize the works of the great poets, to participate in theatrical performances, to sing, dance, and exercise. That was it. Everything else was learned either by oneself or with the help of private tutors. Here is how Plato describes this process. When the students learn to read and begin to understand what is written, just as they used to with sounds, they are made to read on their little benches the works of good poets, epic, which they are required to memorize. Works filled with moral precepts, with many narratives praising and glorifying illustrious men of the past, so that the child may be inspired to emulate them and strive to resemble them. After they have learned to play the lyre, they study the creations of other great poets, the lyrical ones, which they sing to the accompaniment of the lyre, working in this way so that the souls of the children absorb the rhythms and harmony, in order for them to become gentler, and because they become more rhythmic and harmonious, they also become equally apt for both speech and action. For throughout the course of his life, man needs cadence and harmony. After this, the parents hand them over to the gymnastics teacher, so that they may have a body more capable of serving the virtuous spirit without being forced, due to a weak constitution, to show cowardice, whether in war or in similar situations. In her densely documented book Arts libéraux et philosophie dans la pensée antique, Paris, Vrin 2005, the German-French scholar Ilsetraut Hadot adds, the youth from prosperous families also received, this time free of charge, complimentary education by taking part in a tragic or lyrical chorus during local religious festivals. These performances were often first representations of a theater play or of a lyrical poem by a contemporary author. They were therefore an opportunity for the young people to be exposed to all the new literary creations of their time and to learn them by heart. This kind of education was so important that Plato, in the Laws, Susu 654 AB, ends up identifying the cultivated man, pepidamenos, with the one who has participated in a chorus frequently enough, ikonos kekorekota, and on the contrary, the uncultured man with the one who has never been part of a chorus, akoretos. It is not an exaggeration to say that young Greeks, long before entering public life, already possessed a literary culture superior to that of the average of our current literature professors. The preparation for citizenship began only after completing the stage of formal education. When they leave school, the city, in turn, forces them to learn the laws and to take them as a paradigm of conduct, so that they do not let themselves be carried away by fantasy and commit some wrongdoing. This was the norm even before the advent of the sophists, wandering teachers who traveled from city to city teaching the art of rhetoric and public debate. The sophists introduced these subjects into the education of students who not only had a solid literary and artistic foundation, but also possessed some knowledge of the laws and principles that governed social life. Knowledge of which sophistry was merely a more advanced technical complement. I will continue this explanation and draw some conclusions from it in the next article.